Namaskar, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, those who are listening, watching from 3M YouTube channel, the most honorable present Govt.International, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates and judges, administrative advisors, Reverend fathers and mothers, Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily cordially welcome all of you. It is really nice time, nice place, nice section that we are raising today, educational technologies from Chaudhary R. Memorial College, CDMA University, Sessa. Taxonomy of educational objectives. Bloom presents a system of classification of objectives. He says that an individual's behavior has three aspects: cognitive means knowing, affective means feeling, psychomotor means doing. While learning, any learner or scholar learns from body language, posture, and gesture. On that basis, we have divided it into cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive domain directs us to adopt the technology of knowing. It includes objectives which deal with recalling and recognition of knowledge and the development of intellectual abilities and skills. Here the teacher is interested in what will the student do. Affective domain means feeling. Feeling concept is related to our heart, but knowing concept, thinking concept is related to our mind. And it is rightly said that our mind is the storehouse of information, knowledge, but heart is the storehouse of feelings. Affective domain means feeling. Some learners learn by emotions, passions, feelings, heartily, emotionally. But some learns by mind, by reason. We have to make it proof in front of them, logically, argumentatively, with the reasons. Even mathematically, we have to prove it because of their mindset. They learn from knowing. On the other hand, some learns from their feelings, emotions, passions. The things which we cannot see, things which we cannot transfer, but just we observe, examine and evaluate. Such things are counted in feeling or affective domain. It is more connected to aspects. It includes the objectives which are concerned with changing interest, values and development of appreciation. Here the teacher is concerned with what the student do with it. In psychomotor domain, learners learn by doing their external actions. It includes motor skill area. It deals with how a learner does it. Behavioral changes in the students through different skills. Skill in listening. The learner is able to listen correctly. The learner is able to give full attention while listening. The learner is able to listen for imitation in some way. The learner listens and does appropriate reaction. Skill in speaking. The learner is able to speak correctly with proper pronunciation. He is able to speak fluently. He is able to speak by using the language with a reasonable speed. Skill in reading. The learner is able to read well with full understanding. He is able to read loudly if required. He is able to read with good speed. He is able to have a good eye span. Skill in writing. The learner is able to express his views in writing. He is able to write legibly with good speech. He is able to write with correct pronunciation marks. He is able to use vocabulary items and sentence structures correctly. In comprehension, the learner is able to understand the subject matter fully. He is able to give a suitable heading to the paragraph. He is able to summarize the matter. He is able to write the central idea of the given matter. He laughs if the paragraph is humorous. Application. The learner is able to use the vocabulary items in different situations at home. He is able to recite the poem for enjoyment. He is able to use the language in day-to-day life situations. He is able to read novels, short stories for enjoyment. The objectives of teaching English may be written by using these steps. Evaluation can also be done by Evaluation can also be done to test whether the objectives have been actually realized or not. What is the importance of English language in India? How to justify it? Importance of English language in India. Earlier we have studied important functions of the international language. Today we will go through importance of English language, especially in India. Describe the nature of language, how to describe the role and present situation of English in the light of educational scenario of India. English has a unique importance in India. In South India, numberless novelists, dramatists, poets have presented their write-ups, their compositions by similarizing and similarizing some historical, natural sceneries. Position of English before independence. Before independence, the knowledge of English was given only to those particular or special persons, those who were well and good in English, and they were assigned duties in the English offices for working clerical works. The place of English before independence can be studied. Only it was based upon the selfishness of the Englishers. But today everyone is free to learn how to think, what to think, when to think, where to think. As per the interest of the candidate, a candidate can select his field, the field of English medium. One is Queen of Languages. During British rule, English language was said to be Queen of Languages. It has enjoyed a privileged status in India. It was a token of power, aristocracy, and pride. Indians felt honored and proud in speaking English and talking with English people. Secondly, language of office. During English rule, all the activities and works in offices were carried out through English. It dominated in judicial process. All government orders were passed in English as guarantee for employment. The English rulers required manual power to do the office. Those Indians who had studied English found a ready market for employment. From the employment point of view, from the office language point of view, and from the Queen of English point of view. Next we will listen medium of education. English would be used as a medium of instructions at school and college level. Even at KG and primary level, English medium was compulsory. As a compulsory subject, English was taught as a compulsory subject at all levels of education. It was a compulsory subject right from KG or nursery. Position of English after independence. Soon after independence, English got a serious challenge from some of our people. They advocate that English should quit equipped India with the English. But persons like C. Raja Gopalacharya said that English should be retained in our country. He said, we in our anger and hatred against the British people shouldn't throw away the baby means English with the bath water means English people. In 1963, the Parliament of India passed a bill according to which English was declared to be the associate official language of India for an infinite period. According to Mahatma Gandhi, English is a language of international commerce. It is a language of diplomacy and it contains many rich literary treasures. It gives us an introduction to Western thought and culture. The role of English in India today can be seen. English as a linked language. English is a language which links together the people from different states of India. People living in different parts of India speak different languages. But here, English plays a role to link them. It helps to communicate with each other. The leaders from different states of India can meet on a common platform to communicate with one another. They can convey their ideas to one another through English. Thus, English is an important linked language in free India. It is a unifying factor in multilingual country like India. It helps in national integration by calming down the linguistic tensions. English also links us with the people all around the world. International importance. English is an international language par excellence. No language, ancient or modern, can compete with English. It has now reached at the international level. As we read the literature, William Shakespeare, who is known as the king of literature, every student of literature has gone through his writings throughout the world, all over the world. In the words of F.C. French, because of the rapid spread of industrial development, science and technology, international trade and commerce, and the close interdependence of nations, English has become a world language. But Jawaharlal Nehru remarks, we can neglect its study at our own risk. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, English is a language of international commerce. It is the language of diplomacy and it contains many a rich literary treasure. It gives us an introduction to Western thought and culture. Dear friends, to know the real meanings of the English words, if a person reads the Holy Bible, definitely he will be able to work on English words. How the words of the English work, what word we use, when word we use, where word we use, how word we use and why word we use. These are answered Educational importance. English has a great educational importance. It has broadened the minds of the people. It has brought them into closer contact with the excellent minds of the schools and colleges. Without the knowledge of English, higher education in science, medicine, engineering, technology, etc. cannot be got. English itself is a language of research. Reading, speaking, writing and listening itself is the field of research. Study material in all these subjects is available in English only. Our researchers, investigators, diagnosers, testers, examiners, observers, evaluators know this thing, that this English language is really helpful and it helps them in understanding the unknown facts of the world. So in science and fiction, mainly English words, and it creates magic music, makes them majestic. If we abandon English completely, we will cut ourselves off from the living stream of ever-growing knowledge. English in trade, industry and commerce. English plays an important role in the industrial and commercial life of the country. We see that all the correspondence is done mainly in English. It has been observed that national and international trade, development of industry and the working in commercial establishments take place in this very language. Efficiency and success in these fields relies chiefly on having sufficient knowledge of English. All the official accounts are maintained in English language only. English, a window on the world. Undoubtedly, no doubt that Hindi is our mother tongue and Hindi helps us. It works us as a door of that world through which anyone can exit or entrance. But English works like a window of the world through which we can connect, correlate internationally, economically, socially. The study of English by Indians serves the purpose of window over the world. With the assistance of this window, we are able to peek through and see what is going through in the world. With the help of this language, we come to know the progress made by people of different nations of the world in the different field of life. As the French correctly witnessed, a traveler who can speak English will find somebody who can understand him wherever he may go. Anybody who can read English can keep in touch with the whole world without learning his own house. Our country cannot afford to close this window as it depicts the true picture of the various aspects of life: political, social, religious, cultural, agricultural, etc. Its cultural importance. English helps to bring people of diverse cultures closer to each other. The different cultural groups in our country are seen united for intercultural understanding as well as for their international understanding through the medium of English. Studies in relation to the ancient Indian culture have been made through English. To abolish English will be to shut the doors of the Western culture and civilization for Indian students. There is no doubt that it is a language of modern scientific cultures. English at the administrative level. Today we see the use of English in agriculture, industry, transportation, communication, railways, post offices, banking, hospitals, administration. Everywhere we see, we examine the use of words as a distinctive feature of the level of English. English language dominates the administrative field in the states as well as in the center. English is said to be the associate language of India. In the district courts, high courts and Supreme Court, we see that the cases are presented in English. English has been the official language of this subcontinent for over 200 years, and it enjoys this status at present also. In brief, it can be said that English dominates in our country at the various levels of the administration. English in our social life. English is playing an equally significant role in social life of the Indians. People of our country make use of English in our day-to-day correspondence. The different social groups in the country use English in social and intellectual communications. We see that in marriage parties or social ceremonies, the invitation cards are often printed in English. English is a unifying force and a unifying factor in the interstate social life of the country. We make use of English in our day-to-day correspondence. It can be said that it has become such a habit with us that in our speech we use English words in between in our speech. A foreign language already known to Indians. In this age of competition, everyone wants to excel the others. Some people are interested in learning more languages. Learning a foreign language is of utmost importance in the present scenario. English is a language which is already prevalent in our country since long. We have people who can teach English language. We come to know that our countrymen have also produced English literature. Therefore, instead of thinking about some other language, it would be better if we endeavor to learn English language considering the present. Knowledge of English is a successful passport for employment. The knowledge of English provides a privileged position to a person. People having good knowledge of English are given preference for selection to good cost. The prospectus of employment for a person having knowledge of English are right in every country. As Chatterjee has rightly said, English is therefore preeminently the language which opens to us the prospectus of employment at home and abroad and offers means of cultural communication with other parts of the world. Knowledge of English is an asset with any person and it helps him to have his selection to a good cost. Philosophical, social and psychological basis of approaches to language acquisition and language learning. Philosophical, social and psychological. Dear friends, actually language acquisition is a matter of understanding the English words. In the different fields of science, commerce, arts and engineering, different words and terms are used, but common word of English, it has its special use, it has its special meaning, defined by Francis Bacon through his own studies. William Shakespeare, he also expressed, composed some dramas, novels, short stories, poems, sonnets, for making us understand psychologically, philosophically. We learn a language without any personal help in the society. It comes automatically, but we do not know when we started speaking the language. There is no historical proof of it. Why does the man only speak? All the creatures have organs of speech, but only human being can speak. Other creatures have brain also, but only human species speak. Under what circumstances human beings started speaking is a mystery till date. Language is learned in the lap of mothers. It means the language comes to a child when he comes in an environment outside his mother's womb. Nature nurtures us like a mother. Nature treats us like a doctor. Nature teaches us like a teacher. Nature guides us. Nature plays multi-dimensional, multifaceted role in the formative years of the child. So let the child free to enjoy or entertain in nature. As per the thoughts of William Wordsworth, this learning happens when the child comes across a certain language. So language acquisition is the process whereby children acquire their first language. All humans have an innate capability to acquire English language. Children may acquire one or more first language. For example, children who grow up in an environment both German and English as their first language. Acquisition depends on children receiving linguistic input during the critical period. The critical period is defined as the window of time up to about the age of 12 or puberty, in which humans can acquire first language. In fact, no special coaching is required for a child to learn first language. It is only the atmosphere of language from where a child learns it. Only human beings can learn language. Color, place, caste, religion, colony are not considerable. Only the exposition of language before child is required. All human children can learn any language of words if they are provided normal facilities irrespective of their race, dwelling place, caste and religion. Language of a particular person or a place may differ to other, but all speak a language. But this learning is altogether different from learning walking, swimming, boxing, etc. Language acquisition is a complicated process. A complex system is involved in producing the sound of single word. A child can learn more than one language at a time. Sometimes it reaches 2 to 3 or 4. If he is exposed to those different languages, he never intermixes the words of one language together. Natural physical disorder cannot become a problem for a child in learning language. Even a deaf, dumb, blind or lame can acquire a language easily. Once the language is learned, it is certainly flawless. Human language means that a particular action does not give a particular reaction, while other creatures give particular reaction to a particular action. Children are flexible. Like them, language is also flexible. A child may play with it. For example, sometimes children put alphabets in reverse form and read them more efficiently than grown-ups. A child cannot learn English in its purest form at once. Instead, he picks it in bits and pieces. Their acquisition is not photographic, but it is artistic creation. Cultural environment, environmental, geographical, racial, regional or climatic factors have no impact on language acquisition. But a child living in any ambience can acquire the language of that atmosphere or place. Even behaviorists propose that a child's environment is the most important factor in first language acquisition, and if a child is exposed to rich language, then good habits formation and proper language development will occur. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible that first language acquisition includes speech imitations. In this way, the language acquisition is a production of speech sounds. All humans are physiologically alike. Children learn the language of those who bring them up from infancy. In most cases, these are the biological parents, especially the mother and the environment they are brought up. Adopted infants acquire language through their adoptive parents. So all above, this is a child's language acquisition is in according to their own surroundings. Socio-economic and psychologically basis of approaches to language learning. What do you know about second language? How can language learning be made easy for students? Learning second language means learning a language that is spoken in the surrounding community. Whereas learning a foreign language means learning a language that is not spoken in the surrounding community. Thus, Japanese students in an English class in Japan are learning English as a foreign language. And if the same students were in an English class in the USA, they would be learning English as a second language. So the expression second language learning, is used more generally to describe both situations. Acquisition and learning. The term acquisition is used to refer to the gradual development of ability in a language by using it naturally in communicative situations with others who know the language. The term learning, however, applies to a more conscious process of accumulating knowledge of the features, such as vocabulary and grammar of a language. In the second language learning, we do not actually acquire a language. We already possess language. Therefore, the second language learning is rather a question of increasing a behavioral repertoire. We can also say that learning second language amounts to learning a set of alternatives for some subsets of the rules of the language they already know. This implies that they can use some of the rules they already know in the production and understanding of second language.
This process is called transfer, which means the learners transfer what they already know about performing one task to performing another and similar task. They will continue to apply the rules of their first language where new ones are required. By so, surely they would make some mistakes. These errors made by the second language learner can be explained in part by the notion of transfer. The process of such error making is called negative transfer or interference. If the nature of the two tasks in language happens to be the same, this tendency to transfer is an advantage. It is called positive transfer or facilitation. It is the fact that different languages do have strong synergies. If they did not, learning second language would have been easy. Certain aspects of the second language are found to be more difficult to learn. Only a well-motivated learner is bound to acquire mastery of the grammatical rules of the second language. But the same cannot be said of his pronunciation. In most cases, the mastery of pronunciation of the second language is never achieved. The appropriate pronunciation of any language can be learned in the childhood stages. In fact, learning a language to speak like the natives is a matter of growing in the America or is a matter of growing in the environment of that language. We know how the children to those of us migrate to America or England readily pick up the native accents through their more intimate contact with native children. If the second language learner already knows another foreign language, that knowledge will facilitate his learning of the second language. The assumption behind this theory is that the learner's knowledge of the other second language and the grammar of that language will also be incorporated into the device. Obviously, this knowledge will make his task of learning another second language easier. But now it is questioned because it is said not to have been investigated scientifically. Dear friends, as we have read and learned that second language acquisition, how do we learn different languages? Psychologically and philosophically, how do we try to understand the words from the basic literatures or basic scriptures of our Indian holy motherland, which is really praiseworthy, admirable and appreciable. Our forefathers, foretellers, forecasters, freedom fighters, those who came first on this Indian land, they spent their maximum time with nature, with the presence of their mind and heart. It helped them in understanding entirely about the presence of Lord or God, which is the most helpful perspective of our life for the research scholars. English itself is the inventive or innovative language of the world. So let us praise our inventors and explorers, exporters of the languages, India to abroad. Thank you. tutorial runs,